now.
Jesus. This recording, yeah, it's hurting. It's hurting. I went and shot
You don't have to say it. You don't have to say it.
No, but here's the way I think. Last time I went and I shot 49, and then 2 days ago I went and shot 46. So based on that
Getting
math,
better.
if I shave 3 shots every time I go, I'll be scratching no time.
Yep, for sure.
That's the way I think.
I wish, it's snowing here right now. There's no. I played golf in the simulator yesterday, and it's not the same.
Yeah,
Not the same.
Man. You want to test the mental strength? Pumping a ball in the woods on the first hole. Oh my God.
And then with the alligators, eh?
Yeah, man. So funny. Did I tell you the story of my first game?
No.
Mikey, you're gonna like this. So my first set of games ever in this league, like regular season, we were it was in Charleston here where I'm right now. And so my dad came down for the weekend, and it's 3 hours away from home. So we just decided, we're like, okay, I'll spend the weekend with him and whatnot. So the game's on the Saturday. On the Friday, we go out golfing. And I'm telling my dad, I'm like, yeah, there's gonna be gators. Like, it's known for it, like Charleston. So sure enough, sorry. we hit up, there's a big pond, and there's a gator there. So, but it's completely across the pond. So me and my dad being very similar, like, yeah, we got to get closer to it. Like, we got to come up and get closer. So we take the golf cart, and like, I drive to like close to the pond, but there was another gator that I didn't see. That was right next to where we parked the cart. So as soon as I get out to go see this gator, the one right next to me just turns around and then hits the water, scared the crap out of me. So yeah, that was the end of that. But it's wild.
Yeah, that's scary.
I still suck at golf.
All right, we'll get started here. So hi everyone, thanks for coming. I see a few of you in the room, so that's great to see. We're also recording this so we can share it with everyone else. Thanks, Shawn and Antoine, for joining us today. Really appreciate that. Before we get going, we did October was an optional quiz for everyone, and whoever did it and got over 90% is entered into a raffle for a pair of Sens tickets. So we're just going to do that now, just to get this done. So
should have done the quiz.
What's that?
I should have done the quiz.
Should have done the quiz. Can you see the randomizer webpage?
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm going to hit it 5 times, and the 5th time, whoever's name's at the top of the list gets the Sens tickets. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Todd Smart. There we go.
Todd Smart with the win.
I'll message out Todd and get him some Sens tickets set up for this. Awesome. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming. We just wanted to give this a try and see how this would go. And I think we've had a lot of interest. I know some people are busy today and with the snow outside, but I think it's going to be a good learning experience for everyone. And also good for everyone to sort of, see people who have come through the system. We have Shawn and Antoine who have come through the system and now working higher hockey. And it's great to have you guys both here. Just to give sort of a little intro before I pass it over to Antoine and Shawn. I think one thing that everyone's really noticed if you've worked with Antoine and Shawn is sort of how they present themselves and the presence they bring. And right from the start, both on and off the ice, you sort of knew that there was something special with these guys, and they had the potential to move higher. Just even talking with team coaches, officiating coaches, teammates, even just around the rink, it's always been respectful, always been courteous, and always been approachable. And that's sort of what you look for in officials. So I'm just going to start with Antoine, because we're going to pass it off to him first to just give a bit of his referee journey. I don't know Antoine as well as I know Shawn. I've only met Antoine through Central the last few years. But the one thing that, I've always noticed with Antoine is it's always been, professional, courteous, understanding person. You really know the type of person Antoine is a good example is when he found out he was moving up to the big leagues. He was trying to get as many games in with his buddies as possible, which is, that's the way I see reffing is, I ref because it's with friends, that kind of thing. So just the fact that he's trying to get on all these games, politely doing it, doesn't want to take anyone off the games, but if he can get games with his friends, it would be good. Even if it was a U14 AA game that he was trying to get me to do a 4-man for, and I got in trouble because not allowed to do that. So, but still, it's just, the type of guy that Antoine is, wants to get on with all his friends before heading off. So Antoine, I'll pass it over to you, and you can give a few minutes here about your sort of referee journey.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for doing this with Shawn and I. I know both him and I came up through the system, and from all the way down to when we started doing novice games and whatnot. So it's a pleasure to do this to give back to a program that gives so much to us. But yeah, I started 6 years ago now officiating, and like a lot of guys, like for me, it wasn't right when I started. It wasn't something that I didn't see, not that I didn't see myself like moving up higher, but I was on this, to be completely honest, I was on the school bus going to school, and I was bored, and I saw the email come through for Nepean. And I just decided, you know what, like this would be something that I could give a shot, because I'd just gotten a few concussions, and I kind of my playing career wasn't going to be a glorious one, to be honest with you, but it was coming to an end. And so refereeing just kind of started becoming a thing for me. And so, but right away, it's, I took it seriously from the start. There's a lot of people, I think that, oh, it's just a novice game or whatever. But I always tried to be serious about the games that I was working, and just to pick a lot of guys' brains as I was moving up. So whether it's like the vets in the PN, and then it later moved on to the coaches in senior body. I think I saw Mark Galan on this call. He was definitely one of them that gave me good feedback too. But I started working that, and then my second year is when really things started rolling for me. Me and Jacob Wilson, I think, as a few of you guys know, in the PN, we started getting moved up a little bit faster than the rest of our class. And then in that third season, towards the end of the second season, I think in the summer, going into my third season of officiating, I got invited to a senior body skating clinic, and I had zero expectations. To me, it was just something I was invited to. I had no idea what it could lead to, and yeah, I just went. I skated as hard as I could, and then that night, I think, Mike, is when it was either you or Sean Tobin that reached out to me and asked if I wanted to skate Central. And then I later got an email for senior body a few weeks later. So my third season officiating, I hopped on both of those. I started lining U18. And then later that season, I started doing junior C. And it just, one of my things is I've always, and I think Sean can say the same. I've always been known for working tons and tons of games. And I've had a lot of guys ask me, tell me, hey, you're going to burn yourself out. But to me, it's experience that you gain. It's situations that you see that maybe you wouldn't see. And that experience in officiating is like gold, because you can't teach it. And it'll, especially as a linesman, you'll see stuff that will make you a better linesman, because you'll put yourself in positions to avoid certain situations that you've seen before. And so that was that. And I learned a lot from that season in junior C. And so that was that. And then the following season, I wanted my goals for myself. I didn't really know where I stood with regards to senior body. But I started lining. I was selected to line junior A that following season. And so I lined the full year in junior A. I was working junior B as well. U18, we're having the bands for it, but all of that, I still worked Central games because, I wanted to work some hockey, and there's some good hockey there for sure. And also just to get to go on the ice with guys that I know. Like, I love more than a good old road trip. And that's something that I think a lot of people realized in COVID, that once you get stripped from that, that's something that all the boys really love, and girls obviously. But And so, yeah, so I did that whole season, junior A, junior B, U18 and Central, and then COVID got shut down. And so after that, heading into the COVID season, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen, because that previous season I'd gotten, much like Shawn, I'd gotten a few looks from some supervisors from, I think we got a few games where the NHL came and saw. I was with Charlie Millen for one of those. So, and obviously it worked well for Charlie and whatnot. And we were both able to move on to higher levels. But so yeah, I got feedback from that, got in contact with the OHL a little bit there. And then next season would have been last year, the COVID season. That's when, you know, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen, because obviously I was waiting for some news to hopefully keep moving up, but with some leagues being canceled and whatnot, that opportunity just didn't present itself. And that's something that really bummed me out. But I knew that if I kept on working, something was going to happen. And that's kind of what this summer was all about. Just kind of tried to take my training to the next level this summer, and take it, just my whole dedication towards officiating, whether it's power skating in the mornings or just trying to stay on the ice, to develop myself and do whatever I can to be a better official. And then it was late in, I think, one of the last weeks of August that I got in contact with my current boss, now the officiating manager of the East Coast, and he made an offer for me to come down here and work hockey full time. And so that's what I do now. So I'm in South Carolina, and yeah, my full-time job is refereeing hockey games. So I've got nothing to complain about. And so far it's been a blast, but lots of differences, of course, but it's a great time.
Awesome. Thanks, Antoine. Well, just before I pass it over to Shawn here, I'll just give him a little info about Shawn. So, you know, like I said earlier, I've got to work a lot of hockey with Shawn over the years, let it be in Central, let it be back at Bytown Hockey, or right through the sort of ranks. And I know a few of us, same with Sean Tobin, can say that we've seen sort of Shawn grow up in front of our eyes, which has been pretty neat to see. But the one thing that I think we all take away from Shawn is how calm he is on the ice, even though we know in his head he's running 1,000,000 miles a minute. And a good example that I like to bring up is I like to think it was right before he got noticed. So it must be the amazing linesman that he had that game. But it was a playoff game, I believe, over in.
I remember this.
It was a great game. And, you know, Shawn made some great calls, but clearly the coach didn't like it when he threw the water bottle across the ice at Shawn or Chad, not sure which, one of them. Definitely wasn't me. But Shawn calmly went over to the coach, asked him to leave. Coach was furious. I mean, he just threw the water bottle at Shawn, but off the coach went. And then I remember the trainer smashing his helmet on the bench, being so furious. But Shawn didn't kick him out. And I was happy he didn't, because 5 minutes later, a player went down injured, and Chad went to get the trainer to escort him onto the ice, but Chad made him put the broken helmet on. So that was quite the sight to see, the trainer out on the ice with a helmet that was in 14 pieces. And then he said a few more choice words to Shawn, and then Shawn calmly kicked him out of the game also, which was great. But that all calm on the ice. And then once we got back into the room, I think Shawn was just, the energy came out. Shawn was just, I don't know if he slept for days after that because it was so amped up, but it's just that calmness on the ice, which was always something that you saw from Shawn, no matter what the situation was. So you knew there was always something there. So Shawn, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I remember that game like it was yesterday. It was a 5-on-3 power play, and the guy took a slap shot from the point, hit the D-man. Guy goes down like he was dead, hit him in the lower body. I wasn't blowing the play dead. And then 5-on-2, guy goes backdoor, taps it in, and out comes the water bottle. So yeah, it's a pretty funny story and something I'll never forget for sure. Officiating started for me my grade 9 year. I applied to the Bytown district. Did not get accepted my first year applying. Did really good on the skating portion, but was lacking on the written part. I wrote it at the cottage on my cell phone. Did not do a great job and didn't get accepted. So good learning experience right off the start on professionalism through officiating. And it was something I had to swallow. And my brother was reffing games at the time, and he was loving it, and I was jealous at the time. So the next year came in with a totally different attitude, and got hired by District B. Started doing games there at the lowest level. It was my first game was, I think, novice C. And I was out there with Sean Tobin, and Sean Tobin, someone who was like the calmest guy out there when he's supervising you. And that's something that I really like loved. And he was able to help me throughout my officiating career. So he was out there, and I remember watching a play come across the line, and he just was standing right beside me. He's like, "Do you see that?" And I was like, "Yep." He's like, "Yep, that's an offside." I was like, "Yeah, that is." So you just slowly learn, and he was very calm about it. And it just, slowly learned how to get things going. And I think the next game he came out with a slushie and sat in the penalty bench. And it was just funny that like how, I don't even know. It's like, it was just a lot of fun to start at the minor hockey level. I then, that year, I did a few games. I was still playing competitive hockey at the time. I got hit from behind over the boards, broke my pelvis in November. So I was out for, I think, 3 months from officiating. Wasn't walking, wasn't able to do anything, just lying in bed at home. And had a few talks with the doctor, and he really didn't want me to get back into the competitive hockey at the time. And I was like, okay, let's pursue this officiating career. So at that time, I just started reffing as much hockey as I could as my availability opened up and I wasn't playing. And that's where the passion really started for officiating. That following year, just continued to develop, move up the ranks through District B. I feel like every second night someone was out there watching and helping you. And that's the biggest thing. When a supervisor's in the building, he's your friend. He's there to help you. He's not there to criticize you. And everything you do that he sees, like, he's there to help you. And he's never like, he's going to criticize you. Yes, of course. And he's going to give you some feedback, but as long as you listen to him and you don't make the same mistake twice, he's going to like what you're doing out there. So just continued to develop and work hockey. I think this is my 6th year. It was my 3rd year officiating. I was working a summer hockey game, and Dave Ross, who is now the referee in chief of Junior A in Ottawa, he was out there, and his kid was playing. It was like a novice hockey game, and he was friends with one of the officiating managers at the time at the ECHL, and he saw me out on the ice skating hard, and he liked what he saw and came in the room after the game, and he was like, "What level are you working? How old are you?" And he got me in contact with Steve Slay, and the next year I was hired. So it's just I would say that's a learning experience, and something that, like, you never know who's in the audience watching, and you just gotta skate hard every night and every game you do, and you never know who's there. So through that, I developed work Junior C that first year, and the following year got the opportunity to work Junior B, and it was, I think, December. Steve Slay called me, and he said I was working a Junior A hockey game the following week, and one of the guys from the NHL was coming to watch me. So I was very nervous, obviously. One of the head supervisors in the NHL coming to watch, and just went out there, skated hard, and did what I've been doing for the last 4 years, and turned out to be a great experience. I did a good enough job that the following summer, the Ontario Hockey League contacted me and hired me into the OHL. So worked a full season in the OHL. Well, the full season up until March in the OHL, and had a good year. Everything was going well up until that point, until COVID hit. COVID hit, canceled the season, obviously, for everyone. And the following year, the Belleville Senators was playing out of Ottawa. And I had the opportunity because Belleville was playing in Ottawa. They needed local linesmen, and I was someone they called on. So I got hired in the American League that way. I don't know if I would have had the opportunity if that wasn't the case. So it's kind of a blessing for me that that happened, and they liked what they saw, and they're continuing to keep me in the league this year. So so far this year, it's been great. Working a few games in Belleville and Toronto, and still in Ottawa, working games in the every level in senior body, and just continuing to develop. It's like Antoine said, it's all about the reps. It's every game you get out there, you got to learn something. You just got to pick one thing, even if it's one play at the blue line, one icing that you haven't seen before. Every single game, something you'll see is different than the previous game, and you just got to learn from those. But the last 2 years, I would say, like, it's really changed. Since I got hired in the OHL, my dedication towards strength training has changed. It's just all about getting bigger and being able to break up the guys, because the ultimate goal is to make the National Hockey League as an official. And if you look at some of the guys there, they're big men, and you have to be able to break them up. So strength and conditioning is very important, and skating is the ultimate thing that everyone looks for. So those things are really important that you need to work on. And that's why I would be telling the younger guys, it's all about being calm out on the ice. It's all about being calm, skating hard, and just trying to be professional out there. I don't know what else I gotta say, Mike.
No, that's
not
good.
much of a talker.
All good. That's great. So that's just sort of an intro from both of these lads, and then I had some folks email me some questions. So before we go to the group in the who are present right now, if they have any questions, I have a few questions lined up. I also have a little game that we could try afterwards too, and then we'll go from there. I just want to bring this one up first because I know Antoine mentioned it in his intro there, and I think it's very relevant to right now. You mentioned how people were worried you're going to burn out. And right now we have our officials are down Canada-wide for numbers, and guys are doing, I messaged someone yesterday who had done 18 straight days of games between Central and home district and whatever. How do you know when it's time that you need to take like a day or two off, and what do you do with those times off when you do have those?
Funny you asked that. For me, it was my last full season. I was on the ice pretty much every day, whether it was, I don't know if you remember, whether it was picking up games on Central, having games at student body, whatever. And for me, at the time, I didn't have any other commitments I had school, but in terms of like relationships or anything like that, that wasn't something that I had at the time. I still don't for the curious ones, but yeah. So for me, it was, I would just start feeling like, this is a long stretch. I think I just need a night at home. Like you just kind of mentally, and I think, I don't want to say sometimes physically too, but it was mostly the mental side of it. You just feel drained, and you don't have that fire in you that the day of a game, because you've had so many straight. And I think I speak for both Shawn and I, like usually on a game day, it doesn't feel like any other day. Like you just know you have a game, and you have that feeling inside of you the whole day that, that you're about to go skate and whatnot. But it's when you don't really have that, and you're kind of, I got to go skate tonight, whatever. That's when I kind of know, okay, I got to dial it in and realize that maybe I need a day off. But it was funny because most days that I would have a day off, I remember sometimes I'd be sitting at school and just looking at the trade board because I knew I didn't have a game. And like the reality of it is for me, like officiating has been a huge part of my life for the past, obviously it has been ever since I started, but like much like Shawn, like the last 2 to 3 years is really when I've started to ramp up my dedication and my dedication level to officiating as a whole. So like anytime I would feel exhausted, I'd even look for games to pick up just to be on the ice with the guys and whatnot. But and I've seen the emails and whatnot about the shortage of officials. And what I can say to that is, especially guys in Central, use it as an opportunity, because there's now more than ever, I want to say, there's more opportunity than there usually is. Is it because of a shortage? Whatever, maybe, but that doesn't change the fact that if you do get an opportunity, you have to seize it. Because I think for both Shawn and I, we've both been in situations where, you know what, like sometimes we've been pushed, and there's levels that we've been doing that, like, I can't lie. When I did my first junior A game, I didn't think I belonged there, but you just got to seize the opportunity. And, you know, if people believe in you, if they believe in you, then you might as well believe in yourself, because they're the ones putting you there. So yes, there's a shortage, and I know that means that for a lot of guys, they're skating tons and tons of games. But with that being said, use that as an opportunity to skate some levels that maybe you wouldn't have been able to, and then who knows what can happen from there, because that's all how it starts. And like Shawn said, you never know who's in the building. So that's kind of what I have to say about that.
Perfect. Yeah, and I like that you brought up, that was my follow-up question that I have, actually. Maybe I'll direct it to Shawn, about it's sometimes it's the physical part for some of the guys, but the mental part is the key piece, where if you're doing 18 games in a row and you have a bad 4 days there, your head's not going to be in the right spot, and that's kind of where it goes. And sometimes it might mean taking, I mean, as weird as it sounds, sometimes it might be taking a game with some friends that you have or something, just to clear the air and vent it or do something like that. I don't think officials talk enough about bad games afterwards, or games that didn't go right, because they just sort of compartmentalize it and keep it inside. Where get that out, speak about it. It takes care of your mental game when you're going out to do games, and you need to have that clear sort of blank mindset. But as a follow-up question that this was asked, someone emailed me this one. How, for both of you guys, but we'll start with Shawn, how different are these higher levels with the mental aspect of the game? Like, what do you guys do to get in the right mindset? How do you stay in the right mindset? Like, this isn't just, you know, a house league game at Brian Kilray now. Like, this is probably a televised game with like people who are trying to get to the NHL. Like, this is a big deal in a life. Like, this is people's lives sometimes, and that calls important. So how do you get in that right mindset and that right sort of mental state of frame and stay in it should something go wrong?
Yeah, I think it's hard to get in the right mental mindset every single night, and me and Antoine talk a lot about that between each other. And that last point about talking about bad games, me and Antoine, every time we make a bad call or something, we'll clip it to each other, we'll send it in, we'll talk about it. We have a really good communication platform between the two of us, and we talk about a lot of those calls, and it's something that you have to do. It happens, and a lot of these plays at these levels are happening so fast, and mistakes are going to happen, and players make mistakes, and so are we. So your point about at this higher level, I think it all starts like proper rest before the game. You got to get a good like either a pregame nap or a good night before, good night's sleep. And then I'm eating 2 hours before the game, proper nutrition before the game, staying hydrated throughout the day. And then once I get to the rink, I'm there normally 2 hours before an OHL game or an American League game. Take off the suit, go sit in the stands with the rule book, go over a few rule refreshers in between all the different leagues. There's a few different rules. So for myself, I have to bounce back between those, and it's kind of a harder task, but just refreshing on the rules. I'm looking at like all the face-off dots. If I drop a puck here and the puck goes there, where am I going to be going in position? Just little things like that. And I sit in the stands and I just take a few minutes to just try to calm down, stay calm. And then from there, I'll do an off-ice warm-up. I use like a band, do a lot of leg mobility stuff, trying to get the legs going. A lot of dynamic stretches. And then from there, in the Ontario Hockey League, we have to go on the ice for warm-up. So it's good to be able to go out on the ice, and same with Junior A. And back home here, it's good to have communication with the players out on the ice, and you get to chat with them, see how things are going, see the last time they played. Like, you just ask the guys, is there anything going on, any fights tonight that are going to be happening? You can just ask them, like, just be open with them. And then you can go into the room, talk to the boys about it. So it's the mental side of it is important, and same with the physical side. It's all part of like how you can get the best out of all of us, and how do you I don't Antoine, what else do you gotta say here?
Yeah, I'll follow up with that. I think you touched on a few things for sure, but as Shawn mentioned, this is something that him and I talk about all the time, and we just had a conversation a few days ago about, you know, preparing mentally and stuff. And it's definitely something that we take seriously because you have to be honest with you. And to be completely fair, I completely changed my mindset when I got here. Not that I was planning on it, but guys that I worked with, that I've worked pro hockey for years and years, the most experienced guys kind of looked at me, and I would work games with them, and you know, I mess up a call and I just beat myself up over it because I don't want to be messing up calls. But I completely changed the way I look at things, because officiating is, in a way, it's kind of a game of mistakes. There's gonna be things that happen that you can't control, and some that you can, but you're gonna make mistakes and you have to accept that, and that's part of the learning process. So for me, I realized that I was too hard on myself, and certain things that I thought were helping me or actually not, and were working against me. So for example, I used to have a strict routines, a little bit like Shawn. Like, I used to have everything to the T before a game, where I would show up, you know, 2 hours before, go out for warm up, for an off ice warm up at a certain time, do everything. And then I realized that what I thought was like locking me in before a game was actually holding me back, because, you know, if next thing you know, one night we had the commissioner of the league walk in and had a quick chat with us. Well, next thing you know, I can't go out for warm up at that same time. And then next thing you know, mentally, I'm not prepared for the game like I should be, right? Because I'm like, oh, I didn't go out for warm up, and I'm worrying about things that I shouldn't be worrying about. And so that's something that now I definitely adjusted, and I just try and stay loose before games now. Obviously, I have my off ice warm up, and you know, I listen to a set songs and whatnot. But if it deviates from one day to the next, it's not a big deal, because at the end of the day, I just got to get myself ready and locked in for when I'm on the ice, you know? And so that's the biggest thing. And it's also understanding that, like I said, you are going to make mistakes, and use it as a learning opportunity. Think of why you made the mistake. Like when Shawn and I send clips to each other, the first thing we usually ask is, okay, well, like, let's say it's one of us waves an icing we shouldn't have, or whatever. Well, okay, why did you wave? Were you in position? Did you get there? Whatever. And if you can't, like, if you just messed up and, you know, there's not really an explanation, which happens, then you just got to let it go. And for me, the biggest thing I realized is earlier this year on a road trip, 4 games in 4 nights. My first game of the 4 was in Atlanta, and I was going to Jacksonville right after that for a game the next night in Florida. And I didn't have a hot game in Atlanta. I wasn't as sharp as I thought I wanted to be. And I had a long talk with my roommate in the car on the way there that, you know, like, you just got to let it go, because otherwise you leave it at the rink. Like, I'm someone that I like to talk about it in the room, because, you know, I want to pick the guy's brains and whatnot. But as soon as we leave that rink, it's done, because you got to make sure that you're on your best game the next night, because you owe it to the game and to all those players. You got to be on your game. So if you let the first game of a 4-4 affect you, you're not going to be as good as a linesman that could be, and as you could be, and that's not going to be good for you. So for me, accepting, I just, before games, try and stay loose and just have a good time, because, you know, we all do it because we love it. So sometimes we tend to forget that when emotions are high and whatnot, but keep that in mind, stay loose before games. And then after games, if there's something, and I talk about it in the room, send it to the guys. We have a good group chat in Ottawa with Shawn, myself, and a few other guys. So we'll talk about it in there. And then after that, it's done. So, but accepting that you're going to make mistakes and knowing that that's part of the learning process is something that was definitely an adjustment. But now I think I'm doing a lot better at knowing what I know.
Yeah, Antoine's great point there. One of the biggest things is like letting go of the mistake right when it happens too. Like the other night, I had a call in Peterborough that I sent to Antoine, messed it up. Face off at center ice, it happens. And the thing I thought, like, I texted Antoine about it after. I was like, yes, I made a mistake, but the thing I thought I did really well was letting go of the mistake. And like right away, you just got to let it go. It happens. And from there, it's let's go on. We got a whole nother, it was 5 minutes into the game. So we got a lot of time left on the clock, and we got to get through this game. So it's a battle, but once you make the mistake, a lot of officials will like hold on to it, or they'll hear the coaches yelling and they'll be like, oh, I should have called that. I need a makeup call here. No, you can't be thinking like that. You got to let it go. You got to keep going and move forward.
Beauty. Thank you. Follow up from that, actually, that works well with another question that we have. And it was sort of a theme that was going throughout what you both just said. And it's something I feel that, Shawn, Tom, and I have been sort of pushing through Central ever since we've all got here is communication and communication skills. How important, and I know, Shawn, you mentioned it earlier, even just like being out there for the warm-ups and talking to players and sort of building that rapport with coaches and all those, how important is that at the higher level? Because I know how important it is at our level, doing the hockey we do. How much more or less important is it at the higher levels?
Yeah, definitely very important. This year at training camp, the American Hockey League set a standard that they want us to know every single center's first name. So they want us talking to them using their first names coming into draws, and that's a big, hard task to do. The amount of guys that are coming through that league and trying to get to know everyone's name, and you're not going to get them right every single time, but you're trying. So something that's communication, head coach first name, and just being able to say, hey Dale, I didn't have a call there. And if you say his name when you're talking to him, he's going to totally change his mindset. It's all about mental games at that point. And that's the biggest rapport, I would say, just being able to communicate with them and using a name, even at the minor levels, using their last name, it's okay. Like, if you can get to know them, it's a big tool in your tool belt for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right for sure. Communication it's huge. It's your biggest tool as a referee. The guys that make it are the best communicators for the most part. So in the pro game, it's a little bit different. I don't know. I'm sure, Shawn, you've noticed that too, where it's their guys' job to win and to play hockey. So they'll do whatever it takes. And most often what that looks like for me as a linesman is guys try and cheat every face-off. And so guys will play games with you. There's a lot of testing, whether it's head coaches, they'll say some stuff to you to see how you're going to react, see how you're going to respond. Captain's going to come up to you, ask you about a question just to see how you're going to do. They don't care about the question they're asking. They just want to see what your demeanor is like, what your answer is going to be like. And that's something that I caught on. Like, sometimes and it goes hand in hand with awareness, but you just, like Shawn said, you got to talk to him. You just got to talk to him, but you have to pick your right time. Like if you need to talk to a player about it and he just got scored on 5 minutes ago, or he had a bad shift, then that's not the right time. Or if they're on the penalty kill, you got to pick your moments. But like you said, communication is it's huge. And one thing that's worked really well for me this year is in the pro game, there is a lot more respect, I find, towards officials, and especially from the tough guys. The guys that are going to go out there and fight every night, those guys, you get to know them, and they're the nicest guys, and they know you got a job to do, and we know they have a job to do. So it's just a matter of making sure everyone does their job. And so, like Shawn said, like most often I'll skate up after we get on the ice and both teams are on, and you just go see the top guy and you go, all right, what do we got going on? And most often they'll say, hey, you know what? I got this guy going tonight. I got him. And then right away, you just know. And then those are subtle things, but there's a lot of subtle things that if you're an effective communicator, whether it's with players or coaches, that are going to go such a long way for you. So yeah, definitely. But it also falls a lot on confidence. So always being confident out there. And there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, which people have to be careful of. But just being confident when you talk to players and coaches, you make your call. So you got to die with it because you're not going to change it. So you might as well just be confident in it. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, lads. Continuing with that communication theme, this one I actually got asked by a few people, so I'm curious to see your answers here. When you are getting coached or supervised at these higher levels, are what are they looking for? Like, what kind of feedback are you guys getting? What are the coaches and supervisors looking for at, like the OHL or AHL or ECHL? Like, what are they looking for at those higher levels, sort of in comparison to what we see at like a AA or AAA level?
Yeah. Antoine, I'll start with this one.
Yeah, go Charlie.
Okay. The biggest thing in like the OHL and the American League, like we're both linesmen, and our biggest job is starting the play. So face-offs are the biggest, I would say, thing that the supervisors are looking at. And like Antoine said, it's their job. They're trying to pay the bills for the family. So if they're winning face-offs, they're going to get moved up, and it's all possession game. So if your face-offs are not like they have clips from six different angles if they want it. So they'll look at it from 6 different angles if they didn't think a face-off was good, and they'll send you the clip. And if they didn't like it, they'll just say, this wasn't a good face-off. And it's catching those little factors, seeing what you did wrong, and you'll see the guys, you'll see the numbers on who's cheating, and you just have to go out there the next period or next game and just say, hey, our face-offs weren't great last game, and you got to communicate with that player, saying like, hey, we got to have better face-offs tonight. And you just got to work with them. It's all about working with the players. Supervisors at that level, it's all confidence, making crisp calls, signals. No mistakes is what they want to see. If they can go a night without seeing a mistake from official, they don't really have a hard job to do in the stands. So that's what I would say they're looking for. Hustle, hard skating, just being all around the best you can be out on the ice. And if they see you doing that and trying your hardest, I don't think they have any issues.
Yeah, to lay up on that, to keep that going. For me, what I've noticed this year, and as I keep moving up in the East Coast Hockey League, there's you always think sometimes like, oh, you're moving up, you think of these big badass supervisors that are going to just rip you to shreds and whatnot and just scream at you. But that's the reality of it, is so far from that. So from what the biggest that like my supervisors here are guys that you hear about, like whether it's on podcasts or whatever, and guys that have worked in pro hockey for 25 years, whether it's the American League, like men's world championships and Olympics for some of them, so it's all guys that have been there and done it. And so you just got to pick their brain about whatever you have, and even if you have questions after, I usually try and ask questions, because those are the guys, like I said, they've been there. But from what I've noticed from supervisions, it's a lot like they know that you're going to make mistakes, so they're just there to teach you, and you got to understand that. But as a linesman, I find, and I think Shawn can attest to this, it's, for me at least, they're not so much focused on like line calls or icings. I've had one comment from multiple supervisions so far about line calls that, I wasn't sure about that one. The rest of my supervisions are never do we talk about line calls or icings. It's all awareness and face-offs. And that's the biggest thing, is, are you where you need to be? Because at the end of the day, calling offsides and icing, you learn the hybrid icing, you get used to it. You give a lot of guys those reps, then, you're going to be able to make those tight calls and make, for whether it's for icing or an offside. What separates the good linesman from the great linesman is awareness. And, sometimes there's stuff going on behind the play that you got to see, especially in the East Coast Hockey League, having 3 guys out there, you got to step up as a linesman. And there's a lot of opportunities to do so. But yeah, for sure. What I've noticed is, it's a lot of awareness, a lot of little things, like little subtleties that you wouldn't think of. But what they look for, hustle, energy, like Shawn said, and that you care, but also that if you do make a mistake, that you don't let it snowball, that you can respond, because everyone's going to make a mistake. Not everybody's going to be able to respond, much like everyone can call an icing and offside for the most part, I hope. But not everyone's going to have that heightened awareness and whatnot. And so that's to me, that's what they really looked at. and we had a conversation about that last night, actually, about, you know, just awareness in general and knowing the game situations and who's out there. And, you know, so that's the biggest thing for me that they looked at is awareness, face-offs, I want to say, and just poise. Like how do you look out there? Do you look confident? Do you look like you belong? Are you communicating with the guys? Like what's your whole demeanor on the ice? So that's kind of what they that's kind of the feedback that we've been getting.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Very valuable. I have 2 more questions here, but before that, we're just going to do a little game here just to break it up a bit. So we got the quiz. So this will be for both Antoine and Shawn here.
Oh, Jesus. I hope it's not about rules.
No. We do enough of that. Here we go. First question. Shin tights or tape?
Oh, shin tight.
Shin
Both.
tights.
Both. Okay.
You gotta have shin tight. Tough luck if you don't have shin tights, eh, Sholly?
Yeah, cut-proof shin tights are the Force cut-proof shin tights are the best ones for
There
sure.
you go. No free ads, Shawn.
There we go. Favorite system?
Oh,
4-man.
4-man by far. Yeah.
Favorite position?
Okay, well,
4 referee system lines.
yeah, 4 referee system on the line, but boy, do I love hopping on a 4-man as a ref. If I'm with Shawn or something like back home, it's always a blast whenever the odd time, but 4 ref line.
There we go. Is the rookie lap mandatory?
Oh,
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Who brings the post-game cooler?
So this
driver.
That's different in the coast. You always used to be the referee because they're the ones that drive, but in the coast we get mileage and referees fly in. So lining in the coast, referee everywhere else. Know your job.
Interesting. Would you rather have a local game with the crew you have never met, or a game an hour and a half away with your best friends?
Hour and a half away.
Yeah, not even a question. Hour and a half away. Yeah.
Favorite signal to make?
Mike, mine's not on there. I like to, but we'll go.
Well, which one's yours then?
The hand pass. The hand pass. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Hand pass by far. The guys that have worked with me and seen me call it know how ridiculous it is. And I had one for the first time a week ago in this league, and yeah, no.
He almost threw out his shoulder. I watched it.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. Sell the call.
Probably scramble goal pump.
The scramble goal pump. Yeah. There we go.
I'm going with that too.
Your favorite Ottawa official?
Not much options there.
I'll go with Sean Tobin.
There we go.
The best of the best.
Yeah. That was fun.
The best referee on earth, I think he says.
Yeah, Sean sent me that one in, so.
There you go.
I did not send that one in.
At all.
But it was the best. It was the best choice, but I didn't send it in.
All right, 2 more questions here before we open it up to the floor. And these are sort of, away from the conversations we were just having. When you first got the call to, do the higher hockey, what kind of emotions were going through your head?
Antoine, start off.
For me, it was, I still remember the day I was at work. It was a crazy day, like, because it had been something that I've been working for so long. And, I had hopes of getting into the OHL the year that they canceled their season. So that was a huge bummer. And I had a few things, I had some adversity to go through, whether it was through that or there's some other stuff as well. And so I felt like there's a few situations that happened that I was disappointed because things didn't necessarily go the way that I wanted them to. And so, I was always wondering, like, am I missing an opportunity? Am I ever going to be able to go on to higher levels? And so when I finally got the call to come here and do this full time, it was huge. Like I even thinking back on it, it's hard to describe, but my family, especially that have been there for me and supported me the whole way through, and close friends and people that saw me start and have been there the whole ride. it's telling them and seeing their reactions to the ones that mean the most. That was one of the neatest things. And especially, yeah, telling my dad, my mom, my grandparents that keep close tabs on me and whatnot. It was so rewarding, because I remember that same morning I got the call, and this people can take this as a lesson, because I sure did. That morning that I got the call, I didn't know I was going to get a call to go work this league, but I was driving myself to a power skating session in the morning, and I had to wake up very, very early in the morning to do those. And it was I'd been doing that for a month and a half now. And I vividly remember that day I was driving, and I was just thinking, there's not a single person on the road. It was still dark outside. And I was driving to the Sensplex in Canada, and I was thinking to myself, like, am I wasting my time doing this? Like, am I just stupid? Because I wasn't getting any news. I wasn't getting anything in the summer. And the summer was winding down and the season was approaching fast. And so, I was I'm like, man, am I like dumb for doing this? Am I wasting my time? And then sure enough, as life has it, that same day I get a call from that to go on and work this league. So, it's hard to describe the emotions, but just such a rewarding feeling, and just one of the happiest days I can remember.
Shawn?
The emotions I had, I was at work. I got an email saying I got invited to the OHL training camp. From there, I just trained hard the rest of the summer. Went to training camp and did 2 preseason games, and the head of the OHL, Conrad Hache, was in the building for my second game. Came down to the room after the game and told me I was hired, shook my hand, and that was kind of a surreal experience. And I wasn't really able to tell anyone at the time because I was in the room. But once I got home, gave my parents a big hug and said that I got hired. And from there, just told all my friends and family, and that was probably the most rewarding thing. And then same with last year, contacting all my coaches, reaching out to a bunch of people who helped me along my journey, just hearing their reactions and just hearing how happy they were for me. It was awesome, because officiating sometimes can get pretty lonely out there, and like, you're working games every night. You got to have a good core group, and when you do have those people on your side and you reach out to them in moments like that and hear their answers, it's really rewarding, and it's awesome to hear. So that was probably the emotions that were going through my mind at the time. Were just, this is crazy, can't believe this is happening, but it was awesome.
Awesome. And the last question before we open it up to the floor, and I think this is probably the one I got the most, and it goes back to sort of what Central List is for, as we're a development list. But what would you tell others they need to do to be noticed, to sort of get up to that next level? Let it be the senior list, let it be anywhere where they want to go with officiating. What do you think is the most important things officials should understand to sort of be noticed and move on up?
Shaw, you want to go?
Sure. Biggest thing is like rule knowledge. First off, you got to know the rules. If you're getting put in a game where you don't know what's going on out there, it's really hard. So rule knowledge is number one, and then you just got to skate hard out there. You got to be confident. It's just skating hard, confident, and knowing the rules. Right there, it's pretty much the triangle of what you need to do well as an official. I would say that is the biggest. Those are the biggest things.
For me, it's and I've seen it done a lot. For guys that want to get noticed, you got to understand, like, there's a lot of bodies in Central, and there's a lot of bodies in senior body, and there's a lot of bodies in minor hockey. So what are you going to do that's going to make yourself stand out from, everyone? And sometimes, like, it takes an email, but you got to be careful with how you send those emails, and you got to understand what you're asking and understand that it's not a right for you to work that hockey you want to work. It's that you're hoping for. And a lot of times I had this conversation with Steve Slay, the old referee in chief, and he said that anytime somebody asked him, sent him an email hoping to work higher hockey, he saw it as a good thing. As long as you word it right and you ask politely and nicely, you can always just ask, because especially now where there's short officials, even guys in Central, if you don't have that much experience, Good. Ask to work those higher levels. Ask to get supervised. Mike, you're probably going to get 1,000 emails after this from guys trying to move up, but I'm sorry, but just send Mike an email, send Shawn an email. Ask to move up, ask to get supervised, and do it nicely. But like Shawn said, if they do come and supervise, and if you do get those opportunities, then you got to be on your game. And so know your rules, skate hard out there. Don't take a game off, because you never know who's in the building, especially in Ottawa, where there's a lot of people, that have influence, like Shawn, like when Dave Ross saw him, or, you never know who's in the building. And that's true. And you hear so many stories of guys that have made it from random people being in the building. So that's what I would say, honestly. If you want to get noticed, skate hard every game, do everything in your power, communicate effectively, know your rules, do the best job that you can every single night. And if you feel like you're not getting, an opportunity, or if you want to work some higher hockey, then feel free to send an email and say, listen, like, I'm working hard. This is something that I take seriously. And that's always what I used to do. Just, you send an email, you say, hey, listen, I'm working hard. I'd really love to work this kind of hockey. And if you say, if I can't work that level, then what can I do? What are some things you want me to work on? Ask for pointers, ask tons and tons of questions. And that's usually the go-to for that should get you in higher levels.
One more thing I wanted to add, just watching, like, if the game's taped and you're able to access it on Hockey TV or some other platform, just having the opportunity to like watch your game back. I watch all my games just to see like certain plays where you could have been better, situations like little scrums that break out in the corner that you're like, why wasn't I there for that? There's little things. So being able to reflect on yourself and being able to improve every single game, because that's the biggest point. There's so many officials in Ottawa right now, not enough, but there's so many officials in Ottawa who all have high goals with officiating, and you got to just keep grinding and do those things, I'd say.
Perfect. Well, thanks, lads. All right. Well, it's time to open it up to the floor. So I'm not sure if anyone has some questions from the floor. You could either just unmute your microphone, or you could do the raise hand function, or whatever you want, and we can go from there. I see Shawn turned his camera on. Shawn, do you have a question?
Not really a question, just a couple of quick comments, Mike, to add to what the guys are talking about here. This was great. This was great. And I appreciate both of you taking the time to do this. I know you're both super busy, and as senior officials, we can learn a lot from this as well. So it's nice to hear the kinds of things your coaches at higher levels are looking for as well. It helps us at the helps guys like Mike and Greg and myself when we need to be putting more focus on face-offs, so that these things are apparent when you get to this level. And it's nice to hear you back up some of the things we've talked about in terms of communication, and the best referees are the best communicators and things like that. I apologize for jumping in a few minutes late. I'm at the cottage this weekend, and so kind of got held up there for a second. I'm not actually in Michael Scott's office, but the last thing I just wanted to add from my perspective is I'm incredibly proud of both of you guys. It is fantastic to see officials from our area, go and do well. You guys are a fraction of what we have out there. We have some great officials in Ottawa, and of course, not everyone gets to the level you do, but I'm incredibly proud of both of you guys, and really happy to see you do well and enjoying what you're doing. So that was it for me, Mike, but thanks guys for your time. This is great.
Perfect. Thanks, Shawn.
Thanks, Shawn.
Anyone else have a question or comment or anything like that? Oh, Greg Lund's got his thumb up or his finger up. So let's try to get Greg unmuted here. Always a challenge. Oh, one sec. We'll give him a timer here. Oh, his camera went off. That's not good. Wrong button, Greg. There. Oh.
I'll throw a question.
Now
while
can
you're
you hear
waiting.
me?
Oh, there's
There you
Greg. We'll go Greg and then Mark
Nobody can
after.
hear me.
Go ahead, Greg.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so you can hear me then?
Yes, we can.
Okay. When in your minor hockey career, when did it come apparent to yourself when you wanted to take on this new career?
I remember in my first District B meeting, actually, they asked us why we got into officiating, and I stood up and I jokingly said that I wanted to ref in the NHL. That was the first one, but I think I did not know the OHL was going to contact me at that year. So when that happened, I would say that was the point where things started to get serious in officiating.
Oh, nice.
For me, it's pretty bold, but it's my second year. I vividly remember my second year officiating. I was still only skating district hockey. And I remember I had a chat with Jacob Wilson, as most of you guys know, back in the P, and we were just talking about our goals. And, you know, right away, we kind of both said that, you know, we want to make something out of this. And so, you know, I vividly remember. And then at that point, I was just trying to work as hard as I could to make that happen.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
That's all, Greg.
That's it, sir.
Thank you, sir. Oops. We'll go over to Mark now.
At first, I'd like to say thanks to both you guys, Shawn and Antoine, for doing this. And all my years being involved with HEO and ODMHA, ODHA in the past, whatever days, this is the first time I've ever seen anything like this happen. So I think this is of amazing benefit to officials out there to listen and be able to get to hear some of the stuff that you guys have to go through to get to the higher levels of hockey. So kudos to you guys for taking the time out, and much appreciated. I know I've had the opportunity to supervise a couple of you guys through your maybe a little bit of the minor stuff. So I guess a couple of things that I would just add into what you guys commented on already and what you're experiencing and what you're seeing at the higher levels and opportunities to move ahead would be, you know, I think as a supervisor, it's, you know, as you guys see work in the higher levels of hockey and pro hockey, that all the officials out there are in the same boat as you guys. They're all working out. They all know the rules. They're all good skaters. So how do you decide when the NHL's got 2 spots to pick between the 20 guys that might be available for that one American League spot or that one East Coast League spot or whatever that comes up available there? And I always believe, and I spoke to Dave Baker many times about this as guys were going through, and Derek Nansen being one. Took 3 years. Derek Nansen went to the NHL camp, you know, and didn't get it. And Dave comes up to me and says, "Okay, Mark, when you're refereeing with Derek, you just got to make sure he doesn't get in any trouble or anything that might get him noticed in a bad way, because the difference between one guy making it and the other guy making it, or the other 10 guys making it, is, you know, could be one small little thing that just comes up in somebody's mind." So I always go talk to guys and try to present, hey, you guys are all good officials. It's about character and off ice stuff that can make such a big difference in people's development and moving ahead. And I know both you guys demonstrate that, and that's the reason why you guys got ahead. So I just end with that. Just wish you guys all the best in your future careers, and hope to catch you in a couple other games moving forward. So all the best to you guys, and thanks for doing this, and thanks for putting this on, Shawn, and you guys to coordinate this. It's great stuff.
Thanks, Mark. And I'd like to follow that up with just saying, for people that are on this call right now and people that are going to see this, Mark is one of those guys that has tremendous refereeing experience, you know, and like I said, experience in this world is gold. So whenever Mark's out there, whether I remember it was, you know, you're one of the people that I always used to pick your brain when you would come and supervise me. And so that's something that I would say to all the guys, like, well, whether it's Mark, whether it's anyone, when your supervisor's there, pick their brain and take their criticism and ask why sometimes, because that was one thing for me. If a supervisor tells me one thing, knowing why always made it better for me because I knew sometimes it's going to help you in another facet of the game. Like, oh, you want me to change the way I drop box, or you want me to do a certain thing. Well, why? Why is it better? And don't ask in an arrogant way, but just ask so that you understand why that makes you better. And so, because personally, I give so much credit to my supervisors and Steve Slay and all those guys that, you know, came up, and Mark, you're definitely one of those people. So, yeah, I would definitely say anyone that's on this call or that's going to see this, anytime you get a supervisor out, pick their brain, ask. And even if you're looking for something, if you're working on something, tell them before the game. Say, hey, this is what I'm working on. Let me know if you notice anything, you know, because like Shawn said, those people are just there to help you. And you got to realize everyone has normal jobs. Think about it. They have families and whatnot. They're going to the ring. The sole reason they're there is to help you. They're not there to screw anyone over. So pick their brain, use the resources that are given to you.
Yeah, I just add 100% to what you just said. Like I say, most of the supervisors, and even though we're old and our experience might be a little bit past the day, whatever, but I think we're there for the right reasons. And like I say, we're here to help you guys out and all the officials. Like, I mean, we're not doing it because we're going anywhere. We're doing it because we want to see you guys be successful at what you do. And for those guys that want to advance to higher levels, hey, we're all the power to you. Hey, that you know, looks good on us too if we can get guys to work higher level hockeys and are successful at it. So for sure.
Yeah, just to follow up to that, like just the communication between you and the supervisor has to be good after the game. You can't just be like, yeah, okay. You got to actually listen to what he's saying. And then the next time he's out there, you better be doing what he was saying in the last supervision, or he's going to lose interest in you really quickly. So I think that's also an important part. And I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I agree 100%. And I also add, like, you know, officiating is like a community, right? Like, yeah, we're out there and we're helping you guys out. But the reality is, like, in the end, like, in my experience, like a lot of my best friends are guys that I officiated with and guys that you hang out with and do stuff. So it's not just what happens on the ice. It's what goes on off the ice that I think people and supervisors at a higher level are looking for. Hey, are you a guy that's going to be, you know, a good guy in that community and a leader in that community, and that's what counts. That counts a lot in terms of evaluating and ranking guys and where they fit. So that personality, ability to have a discussion, ability to communicate, not just on the ice, but with your peers and supervisors and guys, you know, that are looking out for you. That makes a big impact and a big difference for sure.
Perfect. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, guys. We'll do a last call here. Does anyone else on the call have any questions or comments or anything? Looking like that's it. All right. Well, there we go. Went a bit over time, but that's great because it was good conversation going. So I just want to thank Shawn and Antoine for taking some time out of their day to meet with all of us. And I hope the next time Antoine's in town, he'll come pop by, say hi, and see some of the guys out here. And I know Shawn, he's starting to work some central coaching, I believe, with Noah. So that's gonna be great seeing Shawn out at the rink. And yeah, thanks so much, guys. I think this was very valuable. And we'll continue to try to do some of these panel sessions and get some different thoughts and ideas out there. So thanks so much, lads. Thanks everyone for coming. And we recorded this and we'll post this on the YouTube channel and Facebook and send it out to everybody.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks. Good seeing you guys.
See everyone later. Thanks so much.